Hi everyone. Marriage is a sacred commitment, a vow between two people that they will be faithful, love, and build a fulfilling life together. I used to believe in that too. I gave my whole heart to a woman, believing that she would do the same. I used to think that true love would be the foundation for a long-term relationship, that if both of us worked together we would have a happy family. But I was wrong. My trust was betrayed in the worst way. Not just a lie, not just a mistake, but a deliberate betrayal, cleverly hidden. And what hurt the most was that I loved her too much, trusted her too much. And when I discovered the truth, my heart was broken. That day should have been the happiest day of my life. The day I officially tied my life to the woman I loved with all my heart. I envisioned the moment we exchanged wedding rings, the blessings from friends and family, a future filled with joy and laughter. But instead, that wedding turned into her worst nightmare. Not for me, for her. Because, right in front of hundreds of guests, I exposed her betrayal, in a way that no one expected. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I just let the truth speak, and let her face the consequences of what she had done. Today I'm going to tell you about that bitter experience. I don't want pity. I don't want sympathy. I tell this story not to whine, but to awaken those who are blindly trusting the wrong person. Those who have been or are being betrayed but are afraid to face the truth. Because sometimes betrayal is not the worst thing. The worst thing is that we don't dare to stand up for ourselves and face reality. And I chose to let the truth be exposed, right on her most important day. My name is Logan Mitchell, 32 years old, and I was born and raised in San Francisco, California. I didn't have a particularly special or tumultuous childhood. I grew up in a typical middle-class family, where my parents worked hard to provide me with a good life. They've been together for over 35 years, and their relationship is the model I've always admired. A lasting love that's not just built on romance, but also on trust and respect. Since I was a kid, I had a passion for technology. I loved taking apart electronics, always curious about how they worked. Instead of playing sports or going outdoors, I spent most of my time in front of a computer screen, learning about programming, tinkering with code. I knew I wanted to be a software engineer, and I pursued that dream with all my might. After graduating from the University of California, Berkeley, I quickly found a job at a large technology company in San Francisco. Thanks to my hard work and creativity, I gradually rose through the ranks, becoming a key programmer in the company's product development team. My job was busy, but I loved it. I had a good income, enough to buy a small but cozy apartment in the city center. That was where I spent my time relaxing after stressful work hours, enjoying quiet nights with a good book or movie. I wasn't the type to party. I didn't stand out in a crowd. I was just a simple man who liked things that were sincere and lasting. I believed in love. I believed that if I found the right person I would have a happy life, just like my parents did. I met Ava Richardson on an autumn afternoon, when yellow leaves covered the streets of downtown San Francisco. That day I attended a tech conference on AI and user interface design, an event I wasn't particularly excited about, but decided to go to expand my network. While standing in the coffee area I happened to see Ava. She was different from the other attendees. Not a programmer, not an engineer, but an interior designer with a strong personality. With long wavy brown hair, sharp blue eyes and a bright smile, she exuded an irresistible charm. We struck up a conversation while waiting for our coffees. Ava shared that she had come to the conference to learn more about technology and how it could be applied to design. Her humor and confidence immediately drew me in. Although we came from different fields, we had one thing in common: passion for our work. She talked about the design projects she was working on, about how living spaces affect mood and productivity. I shared how technology could optimize design. We chatted for hours, completely losing track of time. When the workshop ended, I mustered up the courage to ask her out to dinner. To my surprise, Ava said yes immediately. From that day on, we started texting regularly, then going out. The never-ending conversations, the long evenings talking about our dreams. It made me believe that I had found the ideal partner. Someone who was smart and independent, but also caring and supportive. During the first months of dating, Ava told me about her romantic past. She had been in a 5-year relationship with Lucas Bennett, her college boyfriend. They were seen as the perfect couple madly in love. Lucas was the adventurous type, passionate about traveling the world. Ava, on the other hand, wanted a stable life and career. Their differences gradually drove them apart, leading to a breakup. She told me it was mutual, though not easy at first. At the time, I didn't think much about it. Who doesn't have a past love? I had relationships before Ava too. What mattered was the present, and I believed we were building a future together. Ava repeatedly assured me that Lucas was in the past, that I was the one she wanted to spend her life with. She always told me, Lucas was never the type of man for marriage. I need a man who can provide stability and security. Someone like you. And I believed her. For 3 years, Ava and I experienced countless happy moments. We weren't perfect, but we loved each other sincerely. I thought our love was strong enough to overcome anything. That she was the woman I would build a family with. That we would share all the joys and sorrows for the rest of our lives. But I was wrong. About a month before the wedding, Ava started to change. At first, I convinced myself that she was just busy and stressed about the wedding. I knew that planning such a big event was no easy task. There was so much to do. From the guest list to the menu. From the wedding dress to the venue. I didn't want to bother her, so I tried to ignore the small signs I began to notice. But then, the changes became more obvious. Ava began to avoid me. She wasn't as enthusiastic about our evenings together as she used to be. She stayed out late, citing meetings with her best friend or long talks with her wedding planner. She became absent-minded, no longer talking about our future with the same excitement. I realized that when we were together, her mind was somewhere else, far away, elusive. But what really worried me was her phone. Ava had never hidden anything from me before. She would leave her phone lying on the table, texting or calling me freely. But recently, whenever a message came in, she would immediately pick up the phone, lock the screen, or leave the room to answer. One time I walked into the room and saw her hastily stuffing her phone into her pocket, pretending that nothing had happened. I felt something was wrong, but I didn't want to be unduly suspicious. I still wanted to believe that she was just busy, just worried about the wedding, that I was just thinking too much. But deep down, I knew something had changed, and I was not prepared for the truth I was about to discover. The message that changed everything. It was late one night. I was sitting on the sofa in the living room, quietly reading a few work emails before bed. Ava had just walked into the bedroom after a long day, leaving her phone on the chair. Normally, I never had the habit of checking her phone. I always believed that a strong relationship is built on absolute trust. And I had always trusted Ava like that. But then, as the light from the phone screen flickered in the dark room, a message popped up. My whole body froze. It was a message from Lucas. The message was short, but it carried a terrible weight. Thank you for last night. I will never forget. My heart pounded in my chest. A cold feeling ran down my spine. I tried to calm myself, telling myself that maybe I was mistaken. Maybe it was just a harmless message. But my mind couldn't lie to me anymore. That feeling of insecurity that had been there all this time was now like a huge wave sweeping away all the trust one had ever had. I picked up the phone. My hand was shaking. I felt like I was standing on the edge of an abyss I didn't want to step into. But I had to know the truth. The ultimate betrayal. Opening the message history, I felt like my whole world was collapsing. The messages between them spanned weeks. But the most terrifying were the recent ones. There was no hesitation, no regret. Just clear plans for a final date. They had planned it in advance, arranging to meet each other and enjoy a passionate night that they considered to be the last. But was it really the last time? Or was it just an excuse to ease their feelings of guilt? The hotel where they met was right in the city center, a luxurious place, the same one I had thought of when booking a room for our honeymoon. The thought that the woman I was about to marry was there in the arms of her ex-lover, just before officially becoming my wife, made my stomach twist. I wanted to deceive myself, to think that it was just a moment of weakness from Ava. But the truth could not be changed. This was not a random mistake, not an incident caused by alcohol. This was a deliberate choice, a calculated decision, carried out ruthlessly, Ava had arranged to meet Lucas, had willingly given herself to him, and then had still come back and continued preparing for our wedding, as if nothing had happened. I put the phone down. A feeling of emptiness overwhelmed me. I stood up, walked out to the balcony, and took a deep breath of the cold San Francisco night air. I needed to stay calm. The plan for revenge. But how could I control my emotions when I had just discovered that the woman I loved the most had blatantly betrayed me? I knew that if I confronted Ava immediately, she would deny it. There would be fake tears, meaningless excuses, promises that it was just a mistake. But I couldn't trust her words anymore. I needed solid evidence. I needed to know the whole truth before deciding whether to move forward or walk away. I had loved Ava with all my heart, had placed all my hopes in this relationship. But at that moment I realized something painful. Ava never deserved that love. I decided to hire a private detective. I never thought I would have to do this in my life, but it was my only option. If I wanted to know the truth as clearly as possible, I provided the detective with information about Ava, her habits, her unusual outings. He simply nodded, not asking many questions. Perhaps he had dealt with so many cases like this, desperate men wanting to confirm whether they had been betrayed. The evidence that sealed her fate. 3 days later I received a call. The detective's tone was low but confident. I have the evidence. I met the detective at his office just a few days earlier. I had walked in with the faint hope that I was wrong. But when the screen lit up and the undeniable images appeared before my eyes, all the hope I had vanished. Ava and Lucas walked into the hotel together. I saw her embrace him tightly, giving him a passionate kiss right before the door. Then, they disappeared behind it, leaving behind everything I had once believed to be true love. There was no more doubt. There were no more words that could justify it. Ava had betrayed me. I had enough reason to cancel the wedding, to end everything immediately. But I knew a quiet breakup would be too gentle for what she had done. I didn't want to leave as a heartbroken victim. I wanted her to face the consequences. I wanted her to feel the shame she truly deserved. And that's when I made my decision to expose Ava on the day that was supposed to be her greatest day. The bride and her guests had no suspicions. They could never imagine that the video they were about to watch wasn't filled with romantic moments of a happy couple, but rather undeniable proof of betrayal. The calm before the storm. I maintained an unusually calm demeanor in the days leading up to the wedding. I acted as if nothing had happened. I still let Ava believe that she had successfully hidden everything. She continued preparing for the wedding, still laughing with friends, still proudly linking arms with me during family gatherings. She had no idea that in just a few days, everything she had worked so hard to build would collapse right before the eyes of hundreds of people. I would not cancel the wedding. I would let it happen, but not to give her a happy life, to give her a lesson she would never forget. The wedding that was never meant to be. That day, everything went exactly as planned. Ava walked into the ceremony in a beautiful wedding dress, her face glowing with a smile, looking at me with hopeful eyes, thinking that she had hidden everything. She was still confident that everything would go perfectly, that I knew nothing, that we would still have a joyful wedding. The ceremony went smoothly. Everything seemed like a wonderful fairy tale romance. But I was not the protagonist in that story. Everything was just a performance, a deception that I could not let continue. After the ceremony ended, it was time for the photo slideshow, a segment that everyone had been waiting for, to witness the sweet moments we had shared over the past 3 years. The entire room went silent, everyone's eyes fixed on the screen, thinking they would see the happy memories of a couple about to get married. But instead of the emotional images, the video I prepared appeared. The moment the truth was revealed, the video showed Ava and Lucas entering the hotel. I saw her embrace him tightly, saw her kiss him passionately. Then, they disappeared into the luxurious hotel room, leaving behind everything I had once believed to be true love. The entire room went silent. No one spoke. Only an overwhelming silence. A silence beyond description. Ava's face turned pale. Her eyes widened in panic. Tears started to fall. But those tears could not lessen the shame she was facing. Her mother cried, standing next to her, but unable to do anything but watch her daughter sink into disgrace. Her father stood up, his face red with anger, unable to believe what he had just witnessed. And Lucas, the man who took part in this betrayal, immediately disappeared from the table. He didn't have the courage to face what he had done. I stood there, calm, but inside, my heart was shattered. Walking away from the ashes, I didn't want to make a scene, didn't want to add fuel to the fire. I simply walked out of the ceremony, leaving Ava collapsed in shame, forcing her to face the truth she had tried so hard to hide. I didn't need to say anything more, didn't need to criticize or blame her. She had done enough, and now, she had to face the consequences. After the wedding, Ava tried to contact me countless times. She sent messages. She called. She even showed up in person, begging for my forgiveness, trying to explain that it was just a mistake, a moment of weakness, that she couldn't control herself. She insisted that it wasn't really her, that she loved me, that she didn't know why she did it. But I never responded. I didn't need to hear her excuses, didn't need her apologies. What she did couldn't be undone with words. The betrayal had destroyed everything, and there was nothing left for me to give her. The price of betrayal. Day by day, I saw stories about Ava on social media. She was shunned by her family, abandoned by her friends. She became an outcast, with no one willing to stand by a woman who had betrayed her husband's love on her own wedding day. After some time I heard that Ava had moved to another city, trying to escape the shame and criticism. She couldn't bear the looks from others, couldn't live under the shadow of betrayal she had brought upon herself. But I felt no pity. She had chosen this path. She had pushed herself into isolation. Lucas also disappeared from her life. There was no one left to protect her, no one left to support her. She had to face the consequences of her choices. No longer a beloved woman, but an outcast. Moving on. I moved on with my life, never looking back. I had no regrets about exposing Ava's betrayal the way I did. I did the right thing. I couldn't allow myself to be a fool forever. What happened was a lesson, not just for me, but for her as well. And I believe that, no matter how painful things were, the most important thing was that I refused to let myself be broken forever. A new perspective on love. I once believed that love was everything, that it could overcome all challenges and hardships, that if two people truly loved each other, they could build a happy future together, that love could heal all wounds. But the reality I experienced forced me to reevaluate everything. Love alone cannot be the sole reason for a relationship to exist. Trust can be betrayed in an instant, and that betrayal can change everything, shattering the beautiful dreams you poured your heart into building. The truth must be revealed. Betrayal always comes with a price. You cannot change the past, but you can choose how to face it. If you choose to forgive, that is your decision. But never let your self-respect be compromised. For a love that no longer exists, no love is worth sacrificing your dignity. I lost a beautiful dream, but I did not lose myself. I have learned that the most important thing in life is to never let anyone destroy the respect and trust you have for yourself. If you discovered that the person you were about to marry had betrayed you, what would you do? Would you choose to expose the truth as I did? Or would you forgive and move on? Share your thoughts with me in the comments. But never forget, the truth must always be revealed, because in the end, only the truth can set you free.